couple of dead bodies over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was the most gruesome case of its time.
Searchers today found 3 more bodies near Houston, Texas, in what has become the worst mass murder in this country's history.
At least 27 young boys in Houston, Texas, tortured, sexually assaulted, and murdered in the early 70s.
The fact that this many kids and young people were killed in this very small area was a huge, huge story at the time.
The perpetrator, Dean Corll, known as the Candyman Killer, eventually killed by one of the 2 young boys who say he coerced them into helping him commit his crimes.
The grisly story broke yesterday when the teenager named Elmer Henley told police he had killed a mass murderer,
leaving devastated families behind.
We parted. He said, I love you, and I said, I love you too, son. See you in the morning.
Now, 50 years later, that accomplished, Elmer Wayne Henley and his story are being re-examined.
And so here's what sticks with me, what hurts me. I believe that I was originally taken over to Dean's as a victim. What scares me is that the Dean recognized a fellow psychopath.
The relationship between Wayne Henley and Dean Corll was one of coercion. Dean Corll was an adult predator looking for kids who could do his dirty work for him. So he used these kids, David Brooks and Wayne Henley.
The now 69-year-old speaking in a rare interview behind bars with famed forensic psychologist Dr. Catherine Ramsland.
Being with Dean was exciting. Dean made it exciting. It was an adventure. It was spy versus spy. Mission Impossible. And I did things with Dean that I thought I would never do before.
How did he trigger you into behavior that was not something you would have normally done?
I attribute it all to my hero complex.
For over 25 years, I've been studying extreme offenders, mass murderers, spree killers, and serial killers.
Dr. Ramsland is a forensic psychology and criminology professor at DeSales University, most recently making headlines for being the professor of Idaho murderer Brian Kohberger. She studied more than 300 serial killer cases.
Probably the most well-known that I spent extended time with was Dennis Rader, the BTK killer. We spent 5 years working on a book with him, and studied, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, really name any name. I probably studied that person.
But now Ramsland is exploring the complexity of murder from the view of an accomplice to a serial killer.
He was 15 when he was leveraged into it. Is not a person who wanted to be a killer, but became one, nevertheless. And I wanted to understand the experience from the point of view of an accomplice because it had not been studied before.
Their in-depth conversation featured in the new Discovery ID documentary, The Serial Killer's Apprentice.
At what point did you decide to implicate yourself?
Somewhere along the line there, I just decided it was better to be honest about it.
Did you realize you'd be going to prison?
No, that was never a thought. It didn't matter.
Henley is up for parole this year and could walk free if his request is approved. But some victims' loved ones, like the parents of 13-year-old Stanton Dramala, believe Wayne should stay right where he is. Here speaking with KPRC.
He has a satanic mind, and if he gets out, just because he's old doesn't mean he couldn't father a group to do that same thing over and over again.
I don't see how Wayne Henley ever ends up being granted parole. The kinds of people who tend to get parole when they were involved in murders, A, require great behavior in prison, accepting responsibility, but also some lesser role. Meaning, if you're the primary killer and you killed multiple people, in almost every case, no matter how well you behave in prison, you're probably not getting parole.
Henley met Coral in 1971 when his friend and Coral's first accomplice, David Brooks, introduced them.
Let me tell you the first thing that Dean ever said to me other than hello. He says, "You want to hear a joke?"
Mm-hmm.
And it was a dirty joke.
Okay.
And I thought that was cool.
It's a common test that predators use to kind of test the limits. If they laugh, if they think it's cool that they were told this dirty joke when they're just little kids, then he can keep going. They condition them to get used to certain things that are transgressive, little by little.
Coral's family owned a local candy store and were well respected around town. That would give the 33-year-old that infamous nickname, the Candyman Killer. Police say he used his reputation and friendly demeanor to lure many other young boys and teenagers to his home.
In the 1970s in Houston Heights, it was like a cozy neighborhood. Families looked out for one another's kids, and they all sort of knew each other. And Dean Coral was really good as a predator in grooming the whole community into believing he was a big brother type. He just seemed like a good guy. And in fact, after he was killed and the police interviewed people, no one had a bad thing to say about him.
But after killing 6 of Coral's victims, Henley turned the gun on Coral.
In August of 1973, at this point, Wayne has participated for about a year and a half in Dean Coral's killing spree. He brings 2 kids. One is a female, Rhonda, and the other is a guy named Tim. They get high, they get drunk, they pass out, and they wake up bound, and Dean says, I'm going to have my way with you all, and I'm going to kill you all, including Wayne. And he sees the gun, picks it up, and tells Coral, stop. You're not going to kill any more of my friends.
Henley was found guilty of 6 murders and sentenced to 6 terms of 99 years in prison. He was found guilty again at his second trial after an appeal.
I got a constant sense of remorse, even today.
Throughout her work with Henley, Dr. Ramsland explores the nuance that exists between a victim and perpetrator.
So I coined the idea of a temporary psychopath, of kids who can be callous and manipulative and deceptive in the ways that we've come to expect of psychopaths who are engaging in criminal activity, but that's not really who they are, and they are salvageable. That's why it's an important concept for counselors and teachers to know about, is these kids are not lost causes the way they have looked at Wayne Henley. They are salvageable if you get them out from under that influence.
Dr. Ramsland believes Henley's childhood played a huge role in how his relationship with Coral formed.
Dean had become my authority figure, and in doing so, he was able to absolve me of guilt.
While the parole board decides Wayne Henley's fate, Ramsland hopes that people can learn from this story.
I hope that when people watch, they'll recognize that kids today are even more vulnerable than they were 50 years ago because of the internet. I hope that they will take away from this documentary the need to be vigilant, to listen when kids are in trouble, to help when kids are in trouble, and to recognize that we can be in very dangerous times, and we need to recognize when someone intends harm to our kids.
The Serial Killer's Apprentice premieres Sunday on ID and then streams on HBO Max.